Well, hello, this is Shiba, and I'm just going to try and do a quick video, but I'm going to do it in multiple bits here. I'm just going to show my build process, and then I will show you how I'm doing the plastics, and then I'll give you a look at the table as it stands right now. First off, we do kind of need to start adding the pegs. Now, I put the actual steel peg holders in first. I then usually put this in next, which is of course the plastic post, and we will copy and we will paste you, and then I will place them exactly where they need to go, exactly where they're set to go in the design. And then to save time, I just sort of pre-did this. And what we'll do is we'll just put this up, and then we'll just modify how they are stretched around the posts. And we'll get them into place. Okay, so, as I said before, I literally just start with the posts, and in this occasion I've got acorns. I know they're actually supposed to be lug nuts. I just put them there. It's so that I remember where things are, and as you can see, I'm just starting. I'll be doing this section last. Now, how do I do the posts, you ask? Well, all my plastics are done this way, in which I have them in their own separate layer. Now I have a special image just for my plastics. I have a separate one image for the playfield. I have one image for the plastics. And as it turned out, the plastic image is well over 8,000 pixels high because of the rather insane amount of detail that Sorcerer has. And it's going to be scaled down to a 4K picture, so you need as large an image as possible to try and preserve as much of that detail when it is scaled down. If you have an 8K television, it's going to look fantastic. A lot of us have 4Ks, but most people have lesser resolutions than that, like a 1080p or 1440p. It's not going to look that great. The amount of resolution that you get is just not enough to show just how detailed these plastics actually are. So my plastics are in layer 0, and I've already preset these things so that they will cookie cut from a global texture, and everything is already preset. And as you can see, there's my plastic image. So let's turn. And I also have the plastic image as my playfield setup right now. So I'm just going to hit display playfield, and there you go. And if you notice, it's plastics and with a pink background. So what's going to be the real fun one? The real fun one is going to be this guy right here. I don't know what the grand total of this one is going to be, but it's going to have to be at least 400 control points, because as you can see, it's not everything is like very curvy and rocky. There's dips and valleys into it and everything else. So this is the plastic, this is the shapeable light object, I should say. And well, you can see it's actually quite easy to do. We set the light object, we set each control point to where we want the corner. We are going to zoom in as close as possible that we possibly can, because we need to see exactly where we're going. On top of it, I need to set this because I forgot to do it. Turn that off. It makes things a lot easier. Get off. So you can see where the corner of the square is touching the absolute outline. So what we do is we just insert a new shape, insert a new, keep adding these new control points, and We'll just get the shape going here. Yes, we have to do it this way. I find that this is the method that takes the longest, but it also is the method that I feel just looks absolutely fantastic. So this is how we do it. And Sorcerer is a real prime example of how tough things can be and how time consuming this is. See, we're going to need at least 20-30 control points just for this particular section, because look at the shape of this thing. But we just get everything going the way we want it. Now we just click off, and now we see what we've got for shape here. And as you can see, this is out because all we see is pink. We don't see we don't see the black here at all. So move this back until we get that shape that we want. We should just barely see the black. See, I went a little bit too much, but you know what? That's how you do it. This is the only way to do it. So as far as I know, so I'm going to take these textures and move them out. So this is what we got to do if we want to do a shaped plastic. And yes, we just move them around bit by bit. If we need to do more control points, we do more control points. This is a very, very heavy but we do it until we figure it out. So that's exactly what how I do it. Now let's just do a quick thing with by showing you the actual progress on the game itself. That I have had to make a couple of changes. I've had a lot of problems with the wall system here. It kept coming up with graphics glitches, so I figured that it was best to do it another way. And even though technically it's actually a worse way of doing it because it's really noticeable, the thing is you can't see it with any of the camera views, and you cannot see the graphic glitches as well. This is something that's been part of FP for, well, nearly close to 20 years now. So that's what we have to do. I'm going to put my regular playfield back on. We're going to just hit play, and I'll show you the plastics that are done and some of the new stuff. Now, as you can see, it's starting to look really good there, isn't it? Look at the plastics. Even though the image is double the size, FP doesn't do a very, very bad job of shrinking the image down to fit. But if I shrank the master image in Photoshop down and then shrank that image a second time using FP, then the resolution is just not going to look as nice as that. You're going to lose a little bit of the detail. Things are going to look a little bit too blocked together, the colors especially, but most importantly, the dots. Those damn little dots that they put on this thing. Because look at the detail on that. You can actually really, really see how insane the amount of dots was that they actually used on this thing. Wait until you see the plastic above the target area. That is just absolutely freaking nuts. Anyway, this turned out to be a big problem for me, was the big metal custom-made area for the lock system. As you see, I had to cheat. And that is to make it out of two pieces. If I just made it out of one wall, then you would have seen a black line. You can just see it just below. See if I can get into there closer, but you can actually just see it. But thankfully, it is not visible. This is pretty much the problem with FP. It does this. The best thing you can do is make it as invisible as possible. A little bit of graphics glitch there, so maybe I made the wall just, yeah, that's the wall, that's the top wall. I can just move that down, or I can just move that thing up a little bit. It should work. Now, as to this guy here, yeah, One of the things I decided to do was to use the WPC flippers as opposed to the stock flippers, because these new flippers were made for PhysX and the bee's knees, and people would probably shout at me, or certain people would shout at me if I didn't use them. So, you know, some people are just too fussy for their own good. But I had to change a lot of things to make them to fit. Most importantly, these are, in terms of height, they're smaller than the flippers that were actually used in the game. I kind of worked it out that these were 4 millimeters smaller, but as most women will tell you, it can make a pretty big difference. Yeah, sorry, bad joke. Anyway, so I just dropped down the metal and the plastic for the return lanes, and I had to replace the posts with posts that are about 27 millimeters high, and it looks a lot better. This one, on the other hand, I haven't done yet. I didn't do it just to show it to you for the video, and as you can see, it is noticeably higher, and in fact it looks too high compared to the other one. So I'll be doing that after I finish doing this video here, but yeah, you can see that there is a difference. As to the plastics themselves, I just make sure when I shape them that I test them to make sure that I have as little pink around the edges as possible. That way I know that the shape is in fact correct. And of course I am going to add a transparent glass effect for things like, say, the holes that are actually cut out. And if you notice, there is a method to doing it. As you see, I'm still working on this one. The one I was showing you was just an example, but I'm still kind of working. But you can see the pink plastic edges here. But the seam is at the very bottom left of that corner in the cutout, and you can't see that at all. And if I show it to you, here you realize that you can do the seams, but you have to be very, very close in terms of the end, because there, yeah, you can see it right there. This is on maximum, and you can just barely see a seam. It's literally 2 or 3 pixels. The top flap is about 2 or 3 pixels higher than the bottom section here, and if it gets any closer, you're going to get garbage, because technically to FP, one image is overlaying, one part of the image is overlaying the other one, so you're going to get a lot of black area and garbage. It's going to look good. So this was about as maximum, about the best you can do. You can keep the image consistent, but most importantly, it's just barely enough so that you don't see a seam being drawn by FP. It's just a little trick. Anyway, I don't really see all that much else to talk about here. It's getting there. Where it's still an awful long way in the before I would say that the build is complete. There's going to be some problems with certain sections, most importantly the ramp, because I don't actually have the right dimensions for it. This flap is going to be a big pain in the ass when it comes to testing, because I'm not too sure if the board's going to make it through all of that. And then of course there's a lot of little things that we have to do, but most importantly, it's going to take hours and hours to build this particular. Let me just hold the thing back on up. There it is. This is going to take hours. This is actually, all of this is one piece, and you can see there's 1, there's 2, there's 3 cutouts in there, and of course we have the screw locations, and it's going to be a tough one. So we have to make sure that we place this and build this exactly right to be able to pull off the effect. You could do this with multiple light objects and just glue them together, but you know what? You notice where the 2 different light objects meet, and there's no real way to be able to hide it. I think this is probably the best solution. Just take the time, do the job, make sure you do the best that you possibly can, and then cross your fingers and hope it works. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Anyway, I don't even think I'm going to bother editing this. Not the best time to be recording. Everything is noisy, and I'm not feeling 100% today, so I'm not great. I'm not really good at making videos in the first place. But this one will probably be a little bit more shakier than usual because I just don't feel like spending 2-3 hours editing it. In the meanwhile, now you know how some of the stuff that I'm doing and how I do things. Some of this is actually just really old tricks. I was doing this in Visual Pinball with the lights, and that was 20 years ago. So it's not a new method, to be blunt. In fact, I'm kind of surprised at how the old methods that I used to do when I was a Visual Pinball author and how well that they work with future pinball. In fact, in some ways, they're better than some of the more other methods, the newer methods that other people have come up with. So kind of interesting just to think of that one. In the meanwhile, hope you enjoyed watching the video. Happy pinball as always, and bye for now. We'll see you the next time.